Florida artist Stacy Barter participated in a quick draw at the Susan K. Black Foundation's workshop in Dubois, Wyoming on September 20th, and we were there to document her work and ask her about her process. Artists were given about 3 hours to complete their pieces. Barter had previously found the clay jug featured in the still life setup in a thrift store down the street in Dubois. The flowers came from a local flower shop. She pointed out her placement of a few loose yellow petals on the far right, calling them the last hurrah. The blossoms were not fresh, but this was fine with the artist. "I like that the flowers are slightly wilted," Barter said. "I like the way they hang. But today, that is also all that's available," she said, smiling. Barter worked on oil-primed linen mounted on a foam board panel, toned a neutral gray, one that she felt mimicked her background enough to help with an accurate portrayal. She massed in the big shapes to get a sense of the volume in the composition, using a warm, thin mixture of paint. After placement, Barter focused on the darks in the composition, but she also mentioned that she was already thinking about how she was going to connect all the lights. The artist put some bold darks down on the canvas with thick paint, especially in the cast shadow of the jug. "I want to build the flowers out of something that is already anchored down to the tabletop," said Barter. "I'm already thinking about lost edges," Barter said. "Be careful, but be quick." The artist continued to build the jug, including the depiction of bounce light near its bottom. She wiped her brush with nearly every stroke and worked purposefully. The artist next began painting the primary blossom in the composition, saying she was eager to paint something exciting and that this area was an important focus in the piece. When asked about the prominent light purple highlight in the jug, Barter explained that she thought the purple highlight would look good against the warm information in the jug, so she played it up a bit. On the right, so intent was she on connecting the lights in the composition that she dragged some of the yellow of the blossom down to meet the area where the second big yellow blossom would be. "It's a lovely, happy accident that helped the light flow from top to bottom," she said. Barter pushed and pulled the paint, working the shapes and colors to where she wanted them. "You have to accept losing the drawing for a while, as you develop the overlapping paint," she said. "It makes for an exciting painting experience." Where she wanted to tighten up a bit, she began to add the background color to create sharp edges. Barter moved around the painting, never settling too long on one area. "I paint what interests me at the moment," she said. She built up the light areas with more paint and detail, squinting often to check some of her choices. As a rule, she laid down dark areas such as shadows first, then placed the light areas beside the darks or slightly overlapped them to create depth. The artist said she particularly enjoyed painting the sprigs of eucalyptus seen in the center back, as it gave her a chance to explore the transitions between the shades of gray-green in light and shade, and how they merged with the background. The artist pushed and pulled the darks and lights to carve out the forms. She broke up large patches of light and dark with little statements of color, as she put it. Barter holds the brush in a variety of ways and attacks the canvas from different angles to let her brushwork suggest the direction of forms and a sense of movement. "I've worked hard on developing my brushwork," she says. "It wasn't something that came naturally to me." Her advice to artists who feel this way: go past where you want with your stroke, then cut back into the stroke with the color that is next to it. Create beautiful edges by overlapping the paint. Barter claimed to have been avoiding the yellow flower on the bottom right. She now began painting it in. As she worked, she talked about choice of subject matter and the importance of a positive mindset while painting. "If you are enjoying the paint and you are enjoying what you are looking at, then you are already succeeding," she said. Although the artist said she overstated the cast shadows slightly, she explained that it would be easier to pull these darks back, rather than try to make them darker later on. She kept the link of the light value that went from the yellow blossom emerging from the jug to the one on the tabletop, but modified it by breaking up the light haze with some background color and suggesting faint shapes of petals and stems in that bridging area. Barter toned down the prominence of the petals on the tabletop at far right, and made a few final adjustments on her darks and lights to further break up midtone areas and to lead the eye through the painting. The completed piece, Vase Goes with the Painting, 2012, Oil on Linen, 12 by 9, collection of Joel Parkman.